Hey all, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. I am Ritika Agarwal, and welcome to the November 2024 meetup of Hyderabad Power Platform User Group. Today we have with us Jeeva and Dharni, and they are going to present on different topics related to Microsoft Power Platform and Dynamics 365. The first session we have is by Jeeva. He is a Microsoft MVP and a Dynamics 365 expert. Today, he is going to talk about using D365 CE and Copilot to transform service operations. Then, our next speaker is Dharanidharan Balasubramaniam. He is also a Microsoft MVP and is also working on the things related to Microsoft Power Platform and Dynamics 365. Dhani's session is about how you can implement ALM for Power Platform and you can become zero to hero. So first we will start with Jeeva. Hey Jeeva, thank you so much for coming here at Hyderabad Power Platform User Group and taking the time on a Saturday to be with us.
Hey, Etika, thanks for the introduction. And Ash, thanks for the opportunity, both of you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm so glad to present in this forum. And
Mhm.
are you okay to start the session?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Yeah, everyone, again, as Ritika said, thanks for joining today and welcome from wherever you are joining. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And today's session from my side is going to be focusing on the Copilot features of the customer service and field service of Dynamics 365. And we're going to see how Copilot can be leveraged in these two products and to use it in the service operations or any business that uses the customer service and the field service of the key business areas. So without further ado, I'll just do a quick introduction. As Ritika said, myself, Jiva, and I live in Auckland, New Zealand. I work as a solution architect for Veldada, and I'm also Microsoft Business Application MVP for the last 5 years. And I'm a community speaker and also a community leader. I do organize user group in Auckland and also in Chennai, and I do write blogs about especially focusing around field service. And this is my QR code. Feel to scan the QR code, and then if you want to connect with me, give me a request in LinkedIn, and I'm happy to have a chat if anything is required. Or you can just search my name, and it's pretty much easy to find in the LinkedIn as well. And that's a short introduction about myself, and yeah, with today I complete my 13 years of experience in the industry. Uh, and it's been like 10 years in Dynamics, and then earlier 3 years were in .NET. All right. So the agenda is going to be covering Copilot, what is Copilot, and then quick introduction about the Copilot, and then we'll see how the Copilot is used in customer service, and also the Copilot is used in the field service, and finally, if there's any question and answers, we're happy to open the forum for the questions. That's a quick introduction about the Copilot, and most of you already know what Copilot is and what generative AI is, and I don't want to go into details about that. But in specific to how Copilot is leveraged in the Dynamics 365 standpoint, and especially customer service and field service, as you can see, Copilot really enhances the efficiency with using the AI assisted emails, responses, case handling, and field service handling, like supports field technicians and the managers with real time insights and troubleshooting, and summarizing the work orders and the cases, and also enabling a faster and personalized recommendation. So overall, Copilot works with the human side by side to deliver the better customer service. And as I said just before, the Copilot really helps to communicate it. Like it creates a compelling content that's tuned for your business context and based on your business scenario and security. And it helps to analyze, like ask questions. You can ask questions about in the natural language to the Copilot, and then Copilot will help to process your data and then generate very useful insights with the data. And also it helps to act, which is like instruct the copilot. You can instruct the copilot to perform a business task with human in the loop validation, and it does that. So whichever is a repetitive task that a human can do, that can be offered to a copilot, and that's one of the example that copilot can be used in your business. And within the Dynamics 365 product suite, as you can see, focusing on the customer service and field service, you can see the field service also has the extension of remote assistance and guides. And Copilot really helps to it basically cut across all the products. And also it works along with the Microsoft 365, wide range of Microsoft 365 products like Teams, Viva, Outlook, and Microsoft Tasks, and many more. And it is a responsible AI, and also it follows the security and compliance based on our business, whatever we have. And the first feature we are looking forward to see is in the Copilot in customer service is the sidecar, the Copilot side pane. As you can see, whenever there's a work order or in the or a case, when there is the Copilot can be accessed from the sidecar directly. So I'll just use my laser point right here. So it can be accessed from the sidecar here, and you can ask in natural language about summarize or ask more information about the work order or about the business or about the other customers, or like in general any information, and Copilot should be able to pull those information and give that generate the valuable insights, which can be used for the to drive the business decision, and that happens in a matter of seconds. So imagine someone trying to generate a useful information for this for the key decision making, or for the customers to basically provide the information when the customer is on the call. It takes quite amount of time to go and get the information from multiple data from multiple system. With this feature, it's going to be like just one how a person chat with a real person. That's how they're going to just ask the corporate question, and it's going to bring the metrics with the data under hood. That's a quite handy feature. And then the Copilot of, if I talk about the key capabilities of Copilot in customer service, the first thing would be a suggested responses, which is, in the case summary or in the email, you can see that it brings the instant and AI generated content. So as we all know, customer service is all about delivering a quick and accurate and personalized support to the customers. And this is where the Copilot steps in as the game changer. So it basically supports the agents by providing intelligent responses and even suggesting actions based on their customer interaction. For example, if customer reaches out with an issue, Copilot can suggest relevant troubleshooting steps or solutions based on the past cases. It helps agents, stay focused on their by handling the repetitive tasks, like drafting and responses of the email, drafting as responses with the past interactions, so that they can spend more time on the customer's unique needs, and they can focus the energy on the a problem which really requires a human effort, rather offloading, spending time on these mundane tasks which can be offered to the Copilot. And Copilot also enables the predictive analytics, meaning that if it can flag potential issues before they become problems and even suggest ways to improve the customer satisfaction. This makes it easier for agents to provide a proactive experience. With Copilot, our customer service teams can just, are just responding, but they're anticipating the issue, and that leads to a higher customer satisfaction and CSAT score. So that's the beauty about the Copilot. And how we're going to see that in the 4 different features is what listed here. One is suggested response, and second thing is email drafting and automation, and third thing is sentiment analysis, and fourth is knowledge-based recommendation. So we'll see some of the demos today, and the rest it's straight. It is available at the Microsoft Learn, and we'll be sharing some more resources around that. And here's a video about how do we write in Copilot with email with the Copilot. I just want to play that for your information. It's easier, it's straightforward, it's not complicated. There's no voice involved there. It's just the video. As you can see, I'm pretty much writing the asking the Copilot to request an email for this customer, and you can see that Copilot generates an email here, and I can edit it, or I can copy it, or I can adjust the excuse me, I can adjust the text and tone and those things here, and then I can just reuse it. And once I do that, So I can regenerate it if you wanted, and if I'm happy with that, I can just copy it, and eventually that gets copied to the email service pane. Or you can see that there I can just use the draft with Copilot, which means it just asks the same question instead of the sidecar. It just asks the options or the questions inside the email composing window, and there I can just leverage it as well, or I can tweak it as well, which is I can see adjust it with the Copilot to change the tone to make it more friendly or make it more professional or make it more formal. In that way, the tone of the content changes, and then which regenerates the content, and then that can be sent via the email. So that's how simple it is to get that email crafted by the Copilot in a matter of seconds, rather than our technicians or the customer service team are spending time on this one, like by getting the information from different data of the customer and then collating it together, and then changing the tones and all those things. Depends on the scenario. The Copilot just comes in handy in this use cases. And second thing is also writing an email. Like if you can see, this is from the phone view, and you can see similar happens like when we operate the customer service, Dynamics 365 customer service from the phone. As you can see, it's quite a straightforward guide and similar to what we saw in the desktop window. So this makes it more helpful and handy. So which means like it supports multiple device as native Dynamics 365 supports, and this is quite responsive with the multiple devices as well. And these are settings that we need to enable in the productivity app. And the settings, you basically go to the Copilot help pane and then enable it, and then just agree in terms and condition, and then you opt in. In that way, your Copilot will be Copilot help pane will be able to will be showing up in your environment so that people can start using it. These are all more screens on the phone view, how it looks like, to give an idea. And then this is the help pane, which we just saw in the video. And this is the side pane, which you saw like the options in the video, which is like suggesting a call, or you can request for more information. You can embed this with feedback. These are the native options that comes available, but you can always type in what you want, and then you can generate the content related to that. And from the admin standpoint, all you need to do is just deploy it for the Copilot for Service. This is another feature. So without having Dynamics 365 Copilot, this is the second type of Copilot, which is for the Copilot for Service. So this works with the Modern Workplace as like our M365 license and the Outlook and the Teams. So in this way, you are bringing the information from the Dynamics 365 customer service within the Teams or Outlook, and you can start working on it. So to deploy this, these are the settings that we need to do. Like for example, we need to first go into the customer service settings in D365. Then under the Copilot settings, you basically enable this Copilot. And then to use this, you also use the user permissions options to basically assign access to the specific user or the teams. This allows the admins or the users to roll out, the admins to roll out the Copilot for Service, and that will give the designated agents the ability to use the Copilot. And the second feature of Copilot is on the using the Copilot for writing the case summary on the conversation summary, and also writing the conversation around the timeline highlights. The timeline highlights, which we'll just see now. And the first thing is using it for generate a case summary and the timeline highlights. So if you just talk about this one, so let's take a look at the closer look at the Copilot feature. So for example, here I just have another video that's recorded, and as you can see, I have a timeline here. I have a case here, and I can just go to the Copilot icon on the form in your main form, and then you can see if you just talk about timeline summary, you see that there's a bunch of activities here. I couldn't show this demo because I don't have enough activities in my demo environment. But you can see here that there are lots of activities. Once you have like sufficient amount of activities, you can enable that highlights button there in the Copilot, and then you can basically summarize it. And the top one is just summarizing on the overall case itself. Like it brings the case information, the current status of the case, and then the associated work that's been done on the case, and those all be captured and then display it. So this also helps this particularly helps the customer service team to basically, if to, let's say, to generate a report or email, or talk to a customer, talking to a customer, or talking to a supervisor, or talking to a subordinate. In this way, they get the 360 view of the particular customer, sorry, particular case, within a matter of seconds, right? And they can use it and then use for the next steps. And similarly, you have that generate highlights for the Copilot. So if I go and extend it, you can see that this pane pretty much shows that the customer, what are the previous history that they have done, like in terms of a summary. Like you can see that it says that the customer had a live chat with the work stream, and customer had asked for additional information about the problem, and then there was information provided, and there was a phone call being made, those kind of things. So instead of you navigating to keep scrolling down to the different timelines and reading the activity one by one, and then providing the information to the whoever is asking for, in this way it's straightforward, and then in matter of seconds it generates the content regarding the timelines for the activities that's been done against that particular case. So that's what the case summary and the highlights timeline summary is. If I go to the next one, and this is just the release and the features and the release. So you can see that like overall, so we got like different features here. So updating knowledge base and using customer knowledge base in the main agent. It was in the public review until last it is public review until this year December, and then becomes general availability in April 25. So what this feature is basically, when you have the knowledge base configured, stored in our system, we can just use it against the Copilot as well, and then using proactive prompts and insight generated by Copilot, and that will be available from this month. I haven't tried about it. I'm hoping to just take a look at those and then use it later. And creating a custom summary for any records is going to be a big one. I haven't had a chance to work on that as well. I need to start digging into that. Right now, we just saw summary, and we'll see shortly about the work order and bookings. And this one is going to be for any record type. Is quite a massive one. And then enabling authentication for plugins, and then automate case lifecycle with the case management agent. It's all pretty much available in coming releases. So if you just go back and then open the system as well to give you a live scenario. So as you can see, there's a case here, and then I have one of the cases created for just a sample customer, and then the scenario. And then I can see that if I go and generate this content, you can see the support ticket created. So description that appears in but like specific customer. There's not much information. That's why you're getting this kind of stuff. If you have more information, like the one that in the video, will have more proper responses than this one. So if I just go back and create an email, you'll see the email creation assistant that we just saw in the video. So you can see what kind of email I want. As just a call, a request more information, a feedback, a product. I can just, let's say, product and services. Copilot will generate the email content for me. You see, if I'm happy with this, I can just say okay, or if you want to change it, I can start, or I can translate. You can even do the different language. I just the video didn't show that clearly. If I want to change it to different language, as you can see, the Copilot pretty much does the translation, and it does it as well in the local regional language, and then you can just use it or discard it. So these are the different options you got. It's available for you. If I'm happy with this one, I just keep it in this way. The email is ready and just ready to send it to the customer. So with that, we are pretty much done with the customer service, and the next one is going to be the Copilot in the field service. Yeah. So from field service perspective, again, we'll see how the Copilot is going to be used for field service, and in the all in different using different tools, like the field service for web, and then Dynamics 365 in the web, are also similar to what we saw in customer service. We'll see for field service in mobile app how it looks like, and also field service in Outlook, and also the Copilot for field service in Outlook, and also the Copilot for field service in Teams. So we'll see demo for the first two, and the remaining two we'll just see the recorded screen. And before going into the details about the feature, if you talk about how the business value is, talking about the business value in terms of using the Copilot, if I take a sample scenario, as you can see, standard field service business will have a dispatcher, like who is responsible for the assigning the right technician based on the customer needs, and working on the optimizing the schedule of the technicians at the right time to service the right customer in the right location. In that way, you're pretty much saving the run cost and saving the service operation cost. That's because if not effectively managed, this would be a costly operation for the organization. Talking about one customer traveling like extra few kilometers on every day, sorry, one technician traveling extra few kilometers every day means a lot. I'm talking about like thousands of technicians working for thousands of customers, traveling like hundreds of thousands of kilometers on daily basis. A right optimized schedule will save lots of money. So that's where it comes into the picture, the whole field service. And the front-end technician is the second persona, which will basically does the job on the ground. So on the site, so you can see they will need to have access to all the tools needed for the job in the single place, and they need to have access to all the knowledge assistance, troubleshooting, and taking actions on the work orders. And they should be able to easily find and ask for help to get the job done in timely fashion. That's the key, right? And third persona, a common persona in any field service implementation, would be a manager who will be responsible for triaging and managing the work orders from multiple sources. And they will be responsible for maximizing the productivity and utilization of the frontline workers, like the frontline technicians, and managing the customer relationships and accessing the insights like analytics to an on timely access so that they can respond to the customer promptly. So, talking about the challenges and how the Copilot helps to mitigate the challenges, in terms of the first one, which is accessing the Copilot from the web app. So, challenges would be a classic challenges would be accessing anyone, and I mean, using Dynamics 365 field service would be a frontline workers spend hours every day and recapping a large amount of work orders, resources, and schedules and customer information. So technicians usually travel and they spend lots of time with the customer and on site. And last thing they want to do is spending time on their phone or the tablet or going through all the information when they are really at the customer place. The best thing we can do is basically do the work and then pass and get the information that customers require in matter of few seconds or minutes with lesser number of clicks or lesser number of navigation. That's what we exactly want, and that's what Copilot does. So what Copilot will do is it will give the summary of the work order and its related information like customer assets, bookings, resources, customers, accounts, products, and all those information, and just and the technician just types in or use speech to text to interact with the Copilot, it just gets the information. And second thing that customer or the technician will suffer is the inaccuracies. When they manually enter the information, um, if they are not technical savvy, there's going to be more problem. Even for the person who are technically savvy, they still have problems because the environment that technician works in general is not an easy environment, right? They might be working in factory, they might be working in a manufacturing unit, or might be where there is a poor, access, like a light, or it could be more heat or cold, anything like that. You can't even imagine. Like it could be a high, quite a high one, those kind of risky jobs. At that time, it's very easy to have the information being captured wrongly, and which leads to inaccuracy in data, and eventually lead into it will have a snowball effect, around the along the way. And Copilot will get help to sort that to a certain extent by getting the capturing the information by automating the information capturing, which we will see shortly how it does. And third thing is, in real time, it's extremely challenging, as I said, to effectively process the information being captured every day. Imagine technicians keep capturing information for their customers, and tomorrow if they want to go and review the information they capture, either technician or the manager behind the scene, it's not easy, right? And the Copilot basically gets that by getting the insights where they want. And if you see how they're doing it, so first thing is the work order summary. So it's similar to a case summary we just saw. It's still a preview feature, but you can see that it summarizes the record history. Like in this case, if you, for example, if someone asks about the work order, where it is that, you can see the work order basically. The summary gives you a snapshot about what the work order is all about, what the product they're going to use, and who's the technician been assigned to, what time they have been planned to book, and how much travel time is it. All those things will be just given for someone like technician or someone from the dispatcher or the manager to get that 360 view from just one snapshot. And yeah, so admins can replace this default summary by configuring their own so that they based on the business needs. And the limitation should be currently you can only configure for the two out of the box tables. One is work order and for other one is bookable resource bookings. And the work order summary feature is not available in trial environments. And this feature works only online, so you can't use it in offline or now in terms of any Copilot feature. So if you just go to the next one, this is the Copilot from the side pane. So you can see the Copilot can also help to summarize your work order and also other informations as such. So if I just go to a quick demo with this one, just this feature. So let's go back to the work order now. So let's see that we have work order here, some sample work order. If I just go and ask this to generate this, to generate saying that this is service account and this is the work order type and it has certain incident and it has few bunch of products to be used. And then if there's any task, it will mention the task as well. As you can see, this work order involves diagnosing and repairing water flow issues at residence, blah, blah, blah. And then it's assigned to technician Jiva to complete this booking and so, right? So that's where it comes into the picture. And if you want to regenerate it, I can always go and regenerate it and it will regenerate it again with more in different information that could be helpful. Yeah, and then you can see the only product is, you can see that previously it was focusing on the technician. Now we can see it's focused on the product, those kind of things. Whichever you want, we can keep asking it and regenerating it. The other way is not just this work order, also the other things around the around the data we can ask it. So for example, you can see what are the top accounts with the highest revenue. If you have opportunity, I can ask that. If we just ask from the field service standpoint, list out the work orders raised for the customer, let's say fourth coffee. It's going to bring the list of work orders that's generated for this customer and then show it to us. Similarly, if you want more information, we can go up, ask it. So apart from the inform Copilot, which is specific to the context of the work order, the sidecar will give you the whole information about the context of the other customers or the work orders, anything like that. So you can see in this case, it says I have 9 work orders raised for the customer fourth coffee, and some of them include this work orders and then this work orders, something like that. And if we go back to the work orders, so we go and filter by ninth coffee, say fourth coffee. You can see it has 9 items there, and that's what it basically was trying to show. And if I just say, okay, what are the urgent work orders and when they are scheduled? I haven't tried this, so I'm just trying on the fly about these questions. So there are some questions that it couldn't get a response sometimes, but like most of them tries to get, it keeps improvising. As you can see, it has 2 urgent work orders, which is this and this. That's what it's showing here. Work order number 13574. I don't know why it considers the high as urgent and the other as urgent. and it includes the priority assumption. So these kind of things are still, and probably we need to be more specific with the status, anything like that. If I could, probably it would have been the right one. But you got the idea that this is where it comes in the picture of getting more information around the data. So with that, if I go to the next one, just Copilot for field service in mobile interface. So challenges, typical challenges. Technicians struggles with their tight schedule of appointments. It's hard to pass and update the bookings. When they're working on the field, it's not easier for them. And when and they have features like Copilot, which just can be accessed from anywhere in the app, or can be accessed from the voice, it's easier for them. And then finding the right field to update is again challenging. And using natural language processing is voice commands are make the life easier. And if you just show you shortly, for example, this one updating work order, and when technicians working on the phone, sorry, technicians working on the field, when they want to use the phone to update the work order information, like they will have multiple service tasks and multiple quantities and those things to update. There will be plenty of information that a technician needs to update. Instead of them going one by one, in this case, what they can do is just they can just use the update feature here, and then say to describe to the Copilot that AI completed all the tasks and finished the booking. Copilot will bring up all the work order tasks associated to that. By default, it will just have all of them done. But if you want to exclude any of them, you can exclude it, and then you can confirm it. And then Copilot also, since you're instructing it to close the booking, it will just close the booking. So that's how easy it is. So if I show in the demo, I have a recorded demo since I have to use my phone to show that. So if you just play this one. As you can see here that I am just using the summarize option in this case. So just similar to the web interface, phone interface also does the summarize. And then next thing is I'm just going and checking the booking, all the stuff. And instead of going and updating myself, I'm going to go access the Copilot to the update this time. And you can see I'm just talking to the, I'm just instructing via voice command. So I'm just saying I like to close all the tasks and close the booking. So it basically just gets that and translated into the text. And then once I submit it, it basically just does the work for me. So what it's going to do is it's going to bring all the service tasks, work order service tasks, and the booking items, whatever I want to complete. You see, I have 4 of them. I just unchecked one, or I can have all 3 of them completed as well. So then I choose it, and you can see the status should be changed to completed now. Yeah, you see it's changed to completed. And then if you just go to the task, you can see all of them has been completed already. You see, instead of me going and doing one by one a task or anything like that, I just ask Copilot to do it for me, and it did the trick. So that's how it is. And this is a generate summary. Yeah, so that's on the phone. And if you just move on to the Outlook, so this is the other feature, which is the next option of the Copilot, which is using it in the Outlook. So someone who is using the Outlook on heavily, when they receive the email from the customer, and Copilot will help them to basically understand the context of the email, and based on the security access, it will help them to create a work order right there from the email, or it will help to amend it to the or amend changes to the existing work order, and and also suggest the resources who can be booked for the work order within the widget of the field service widget inside the Outlook itself. So without even opening the Dynamics 365 for field service, it's quite handy and quicker to someone to use Outlook directly to do all these operations that I just said now. So if you just go to a demo there, you can see that's a field service plugin, and people are just going to use they're just using the create work order. It just picks all the information from the email, and it helps to also schedule it based on the suggest the appropriate resources, and then they're just creating it. And also it helps to the creating the email content. So in that way, for whatever the email response they want to send after creating the work order, they can send it back to the customer without even typing them one by one. So in this case, we did three things: we created a work order, we scheduled the work order to a technician, and also responded to the email saying that a technician has been scheduled outside of this blah blah blah, and somebody will be reaching you out soon. It's all done in, like, as you can see, in like 3 clicks, without typing anything, without opening Dynamics 365 and finding the right resources and everything. Based on the skill set and based on the information that's available from the email, it just did it. And if the email doesn't meet the AI responsible AI guidelines, and Copilot will throw an error in that case. The last thing is having the dynamic code pilot of field service in the teams. So as a field service manager, if I'm using phone or laptop, like I can just access it from the teams as well. And the teams will suggest the best scheduling based on the various factors like technician skills, like how it does in the schedule board. And it also helps to search through the documents that's again or attached against the work order to provide the answers for the questions. And the attachments can be also knowledge articles or manuals or any documentations. As you can see in this sample, when I ask the Copilot what is the status of the work order, it brings the information, the key information similar to the summary. And if I ask them to get me the full information of the work order in a table format, it tries to get the information in a table format, and then people can just copy it and use it. That's how handy and flexible it is. So with that, I close my session on the field service, Copilot in field service and Copilot in customer service. If there's any question, please feel free to ask your question. I'm happy to answer your questions. Um, and again, thank you so much for everyone joining today. And thank you, Yash and Ritika, for the opportunity as well.
No problem, Shiva. Thank you so much for presenting this. And for our attendees, if you have any question, please post them on the comments in YouTube, and I will read it out to Jiva, and he can answer that. Okay, so I'll give you 2 minutes so you can post your questions. Otherwise, in case you have something, I have shared Jiva's LinkedIn on the comments here. You can reach out to him and ask the question directly. Okay, and Jiva, I have one thing I want to ask you. Like, Copilot is really a game changer in a lot of products that we have on the Microsoft stack. I have used it with Power Apps, but I have noticed that it is not that accurate at times. So, how does
Mhm.
this work for Dynamics 365? Different modules. Like we saw field service. If somebody is requesting a input from Copilot, is it accurate, or if there is a way we can improve it, what happens in those cases?
Yeah, it's a good question. So in general, it follows that generative AI good practices. So the more the data is and the quality of data is, the Copilot will be responding with a better output, of course. So if it is an feature that's keeping making it, I mean, the Microsoft is making it working on it to make it better. But at the same time, the underlying data is what decides it. When you have sufficient quality data, Copilot should be able to bring up the information. But still, I would say it's a work in progress. It takes in like probably next, I don't know, years or months to get there with the ideal state of a person working along with Copilot for the day-to-day job.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I have seen it has improved a lot since it has been released. So
Yeah.
there definitely see some progress. But when we are working on a real life scenario, at times it is important to have the accurate results. So that's what I mean. It is good, but still there are some improvements, I believe.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's true.
Mhm. Okay, and Jiva, I don't see anything on the chat right now since this is a recorded session which will be published on YouTube. So, in case there are any questions by our attendees or by our listeners, they will reach out to you directly.
Sure. Yeah, anytime. Appreciate it. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Okay, and thank you so much once again for coming here today with us and presenting this cool topic on Copilot.
Yeah. Thanks, Ritika. Thanks, Yash. Thanks,
Yeah,
everyone. Bye.
bye bye. Okay, all right. Next up, we have Dharan Balasubramaniam with us. Hey, Dharni, can you hear me? I see you have unmuted, but I cannot hear you. Uh, do you want to try rejoining the stream? It may be possible that the audio is not configured properly.
Can you hear me now? Hello.
Yes, perfect. I can hear you now.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So everybody, welcome Dhani, and he is a Microsoft MVP for business applications, and he has expertise in Microsoft Power Platform and Dynamics 365. Today, the topic he's presenting is personally, I feel, is a very good one, and everybody should know about ALM because if you're working on any project and you want to move your configuration from one place to another, that's where ALM can be your best friend. It will reduce a lot of manual effort. So, first of all, I want to thank you, Dhoni, for presenting this topic with us and showcasing our attendees what ALM is and how it can be used.
Yeah. Thanks for providing this wonderful opportunity, Ritika. I'm glad
No
to present.
problem. Mhm. Okay, so I can see your screen. If you want, you can get started.
Sure. Okay.
Mhm.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. First of all, I would like to thank each one of you for joining us today for this session on ALM for Power Platform Zero to Hero. And big thanks to Yash and Ritika for organizing this event. So, without you guys, this event is not possible at all. And as Ritika mentioned, my name is Dharanidharan Balasubramaniam. People call me Dharani, and I'm so thrilled and excited to be here virtually and walk you through the essentials of application lifecycle management for the Power Platform. Throughout the session, we will move from the basics of ALM and we will build up to some advanced practices, including how we can set up the CI/CD pipelines. And I'll also show you the demo with how to configure the Azure DevOps repos and how to install the Power Platform build tools and also how to configure the build and release pipeline. So, everything in detail we'll see today. See, ALM may seem complex at first, but with the right tools and practices, it becomes an essential part of maintaining the quality and agility in the Power Platform project. So, I encourage everyone to ask questions along the way. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and I will address as many as I can at the end. So, with that, let's dive into the session. Mm, Yeah. Now, before we dive into the core ALM concepts, I would like to quickly introduce myself so you know a bit more about who is speaking today. So, my name is Dharani, and I work as a senior manager with Capgemini Australia, where I lead various projects within the Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform space. And I'm honored to be recognized as a Microsoft MVP in the business applications category, which allows me to stay closely connected with the latest advancements in the Microsoft ecosystem. In addition, I'm actively involved as a community leader and the speaker and regularly sharing the knowledge at the user group and the industry events. And I'm also a Microsoft Learn expert, where I contribute to helping learners build their skills and navigate the Microsoft landscape. As part of this, I'm also a Microsoft Power Up champ. So you guys might be aware of the Microsoft Power Up Challenge program. So where if someone wants to transition their career from other technology to Power Platform, they can join the Microsoft Power Up Challenge program and they can gain the Power Platform skill and they can do the career change. And I'm also part of that program and I'm helping the people to learn the Power Platform technology over there. See, my passion lies in both building the effective solutions and also sharing the knowledge with the broader community, helping the others to learn the Power Platform and also to adopt the best practices and get most out of the Power Platform. So thank you once again, everyone, for joining. So let's dive into the ALM. All right. Let's take a quick look at what we'll be covering in this session. So here's our quick agenda for next 1 hour. First, we will start with the basics. What is ALM and why it is essential for any Power Platform project. Next, we will dive into the core components of ALM, where I will explain key aspects like solutions, source control, and the environment strategy. Then I will introduce you to the Power Platform build tools for the Azure DevOps, which helps us to automate and streamline the ALM task. After that, we will go through the environment strategy and the governance best practices, helping ensure that solution remains secure, efficient, and reliable. We will also discuss the source control with the tools like GitHub and the Azure repos, essential for team collaboration and the version tracking. Then comes the exciting part, the hands-on demo, where I will show you how to build a CI/CD pipeline using the Power Platform build tools. And finally, we will wrap up with some best practices for ALM in the Power Platform. Then open it for the question and answer session. So we have a lot to cover, and I will keep things moving quickly while also pausing for any questions along the way. Like if anything comes in the chat window, Ritika, like please pause myself and you can read out the questions, or we can have all the questions on the end as well. So let's jump in and start with the basics of ALM. Okay, so what is ALM? To get all of us on the same page, so let's start with what we understand by this ALM, or the application lifecycle management. ALM is essential and framework that guides how we need to manage the entire life cycle of an application from the very first stage of development through testing and deployment all the way to the ongoing maintenance and as well as the updates. So in the Power Platform, ALM is particularly valuable because of how dynamic the solutions are. With ALM in place, we have a structured way to manage all our components, whether it is an Canvas app, model driven application, workflow, or the data integrations, in a way that makes the collaboration between the team members much smoother. And another huge benefit of ALM is that it helps enforce the quality control. By having clearly defined processes, we can test thoroughly and we can make sure all the changes are consistently deployed across the environments without any last minute surprises. This mainly leads to more efficient workflows, less room for error, and it is also gives the easier scalability as our needs grow. To simply put, ALM is like a roadmap for building, deploying, and maintaining the Power Platform applications in a more efficient and also a more reliable manner. With a good ALM in place, you are setting yourself up for a solution that is having a high quality and easily manageable and resilient over a period of time. Now let's look at the core components of ALM in the Power Platform. So these are the, if you ask me, like these are the main building blocks that makes an ALM strategy very effective and scalable. First, we have solutions. See, you guys know like solutions act as a container for all of our Power Platform components. Things like tables, apps, flows, plugins, workflows. They allow you to bundle everything into one package, making it easy to move from one environment to another environment. This solution helps us keep components organized and make sure we are deploying only what is needed. And next, we have the source control. In ALM strategy, source control is non-negotiable. With the tools like GitHub or Azure DevOps repos, we can track each and every change version by version, making it easy to see who has made the particular change, and we can review the history. And even if you want to roll back whenever it is required, we can quickly roll back it. So source control is very important, and also it is helpful in to make the project success. So and also the collaboration is really easy. What I mean to here as a collaboration is like all the team members are working from the same baseline. So each and everyone is, if they are having a different baseline, and it is a really hard to merge all those things into one solution and push it to the higher environments. So it's always we need to educate developers to commit the changes, and whenever they are starting with the new feature, they need to create their repos from the main branch, so that everyone will have the same baseline. And then there is an environment strategy. Typically we separate environments into development, testing, and production. And so some of the organization will have the UAT and the pre-prod, some organization won't have the UAT and the pre-prod environment. So this strategy, it will help us to manage the changes without impacting the live user. For example, the development work will happen in the dev environment where it is safe to experiment. So once the things are unit tested, then the pipeline will take the solution from the dev environment and it will put it to the SIT, where the testers will validate all the built features as per the acceptance criteria and the test SIT environment. Once the testers approves all the changes, then the solution will get promoted to the UH environment, where the product owners or the product champions, the business owners, they will get into an UH environment and they will validate all the user story against the acceptance criteria to make sure everything is working. And finally, once things are finally tested and the business owner gives the approval, then it is ready to move to the production. So this separation allows for a controlled and also more organized way to test and release the updates, okay, in a timely manner. And finally, the CI/CD, the continuous integration and the continuous deployment. The CI/CD pipelines are where the magic happens. They let us automate the process like solution exports, validation, and the deployments. What I mean here as a validation is, if you want to hook FXCorp or JSLint or StyleCorp, or if some of the organization might have a check marks, or some of organization might have a Sonar Cube, and if you want to hook all those into your pipeline, and if you want to validate all your developers code to maintain the organization coding standards, so all those things are really possible with the help of the CI/CD, so that each and every commit we will maintain the organization standard coding policy. So rather doing all those things manually, the CI/CD tools handle all this for us by saving the time, and also it will reduce the error for us. Plus, this pipelines, it will allow us to keep the updates flowing smoothly from dev to test to UAT, and UAT to production environment. So these three components, the solution, source control, environment strategy, four components, CI/CD, together form the foundation of ALM in the Power Platform. So it is making it easier to maintain, and also to scale, and also to collaborate on our Power Platform solutions. So next, now let's talk about the Power Platform build tools. So these tools are really useful. Like Microsoft has built this tool, and if you want to leverage this tool, you need to install this tool in your Azure DevOps. Once you install this tool in your Azure DevOps, you get all this task you will be getting in your CI/CD pipeline. You can easily hook this the task inside your pipeline, and you can configure this for exporting the solution, then importing the solution, and if you want to publish, or if you want to pack the solution, or if you want to run the solution checker. So all those things are easily, and it is really possible. And this allows us to automate and streamline the key ALM process, and it saves time and it reduces the potential human error during the deployments. And some of the main tasks this by this Power Platform builder tools I have listed here, like the solution import and the export. This will allow us to automatically export a solution from one environment, and you can using the import command, you can import the solution into another environment, which is essential for moving the solution from dev to test, and the test to UAT and the production environment. And then we do have the solution pack and the unpack. With this feature, we can break down our solutions into an individual components, making it easier to manage them in the source control systems like GitHub and the Azure repos. And this is also very key for tracking the changes and collaborating within the teams. So in your build pipeline, once the solution gets exported, so using the unpack command, you can unpack your solution and you can go ahead and commit those solution in your Azure DevOps. Later point of time, if something went wrong, then easily you can go back and you can look into it, and using the version history, you can easily identify like which commit has created this problem, and easily will be able to roll back. Okay. And we do have the package deployer. This tool help us deploy the complex solutions that may involve the multiple components, configuration, dependencies. It is also very essential and useful for managing the larger deployments. And we do have the solution checker. This task runs as a health check on our solution. It will identify any potential issues or any best practices which if you are not following, then all those things the solution checker will find it out for us. It ensures our solution meet the Microsoft standards, and it reduces the chances of error in the production. That's the main advantage of the solution checker. Next, we do have the manage environments. This feature allows us to control the setup and configuration for our environments to make sure like they are ready for each stage in the development lifecycle. And last but not least, we have the Power Pages and the master data management. For those who are working with the Power Pages or handling the master data, this task is the main important thing. It supports us for moving all the Power Pages data and the master data from the one environment to the other environment. So all these tasks help us enforce the best practices, and also it will help us to maintain the consistency across all the environments, making the deployment very faster, more reliable, and it is also easy to manage. We'll see some of this task in action in our upcoming demo, where I will set up a CI/CD pipeline with the Power Platform build tools. Now, let's talk about the environment strategy and the governance on a little bit, which plays a very crucial role in managing the application lifecycle of our solutions in the Power Platform project. A well-defined environment strategy ensures that our development, testing, UAT, and the production activities are well organized and separated, so that we can reduce the risk of the unexpected issues impacting the end users. Now, let's start with the environment types. Typically, we have like 4 to 5 environment types. Actually, one is the default environment. So this default environment is accessible to all the people in our tenant. So we should not do anything in the default environment. And next, we do have the development environment. This is where our developers build and test the new features. The developers will complete their unit testing in this development environment, ensuring all the features, whatever they are building, is working as expected before moving forward to the test environment. Next, we have the test environment. Some people, they call it as a QA environment. Some they call it as a SIT environment. It has various names. So this test environment or the SIT environment, it allows us to validate all the changes, and the testers will validate they will do the thorough testing. They will take the user story acceptance criteria and they will validate against the user story acceptance criteria to make sure the developers have built this feature as per the acceptance criteria, and they will catch like any issues before it is getting into the UAT environment. Next, we do have this UAT environment. This environment allows the business owners or business users like product champions or the product owners to test the user story against the acceptance criteria to make sure the development team and the testing team has completed their development and tested as per the user story which is there in the Azure DevOps. So and once the UAT is completed, once the business owner gives the approval, and next we do have the production environment. This is our live environment where the final solution is used by the end users. So once everything gets passed, then we'll deploy the final solution to the production environment where the end users will start using the application. This environment is very crucial, and it should be always stable, and with fully tested configuration and fully tested customization should be deployed to the production environment. So this is kind of a very crucial. This is the live environment where the end users will be accessing this environment. Yeah. Now let's look at the key elements of an effective environment strategy. So as I mentioned previously, the isolation of environment is very essential. By keeping the development, test, UAT and the production environment separate, we can make changes and test new features without affecting the end users. And data security is also another critical factor. We must ensure that the sensitive data is not unnecessarily exposed in the non-production environments. For example, in the contact record is there in the non-production environments. For any reason, if you are migrating the production data to the lower environments, non-production environments, we need to make sure the data security is there, all the email address, everything is masked, so that we won't end up in the data breach and all. And also consistency is the key thing across all the environments to ensure that the configurations and the customizations are consistent across all the environments. It will help us to avoid the issues during the deployments, and it will make the deployment transition very smoother. Yeah. In addition to the environment setup, we need a solid governance policies also. So some of the governance policies I have listed here, like access control. Access control is like defining who has the permission to create, modify, or delete the environments. It helps us to protect the sensitive data, and also it ensures the environments are not altered unintentionally. Okay. And next to the naming convention, consistent naming convention should be there. All the developers should follow the proper naming conventions to make it easy to identify and manage the who has created this particular component. And also for even for environments as well, the naming convention we need to follow properly. For if it is a development environment, it should be tagged with the dev. If it is an SIT should be there. So if you are having the naming convention properly, then it is easy to identify, and also it is helpful for us to manage the different environments, especially in the very complex setups. And next is establishing a guidelines for creating, updating, and then decommissioning the environments, which allow us to keep the environments relevant and manageable over a period of time. Finally, like here are some of the best practices for the environment strategy and the governance. One is we need to conduct always the regular audits to ensure all the environments are being used effectively and securely. For if some of the environments are not used, so there is no point to keep those environments and unnecessarily occupy the storage. It's better to drop those environments by checking with the other team members. And next should be the automated deployments ones. We need to always review our pipelines to make sure everything is working as per expected. And also this automated pipelines, it is very easy to maintain the consistency and reduce the manual errors. So this is one of the best practices we need to follow in the ALM process. And clearly we need to establish the roles and responsibilities, so everyone knows who's responsible for each environment and for each component. By implementing these strategies, this governance policies, we can ensure that all our environments are very secure, more reliable, and very optimized for the smooth solution deployment, and as well as for the maintenance as well. This structured approach, it will minimize the risk, and also it will enhance the stability of our solutions across the Power Platform. So yes, this is the one which I have gone through it, the best practices. So now the next we have the importance of the source control in the ALM process. Now let's take some time and understand why the source control is very important in the ALM process, and how we will leverage the tools like GitHub and Azure repos to manage our solution. The source control is essential, as I mentioned earlier. This is very essential for tracking the changes, and if multiple team members are there, if they want to collaborate with the code, and this is the source control is really helpful to collaborate with the team members, and also to maintain a very reliable history of our work, which makes it easy to roll back to a previous version if something went wrong. Okay. And some of the key features I would like to highlight in the GitHub and the Azure repos. Let's start with the branching. Branching, it will allow us to organize the work by separating the development on features, bug fixes, or releases. This also helps us to avoid the conflicts, as a different team members can work on a different branches simultaneously. See, for us, main is going to be the baseline branch. If developer one and developer two is there, if the developer one is working on the user story one and the developer two is working on the user story two, they will have the main branch as a baseline branch. They will create their own feature branch for their user story, and they will start working on their future branch. And once their feature, that user story, gets completed, they will, once they complete with the unit testing, so they will commit the code into the feature branch, and they will create a pull request to the main branch, and they will pass it to the solution architect or the technical lead. They will review, and once everything, if they find okay, and they will go ahead and commit this code and into the merge this code into the main branch. Once the main branch, the code gets merged into the main branch, then you can trigger your automated pipeline, and which can automate the complete the Power Platform deployment in a very automated and a smoother way. And pull request, I have quickly explained like what this pull request is for. The developers, once they complete the work for the review purpose, they need to create the pull request from their feature branch to the main branch, and they will assign it to the appropriate reviewers. They will review and they will merge the code using this pull request. And next is the commit history. Every change, whatever you made in the source control, is enlarged over there, including the person who has made the particular change. So this will gives us a clear history of all the modification has happened in our solution, and also it allows us to easily trace back if any issues arise later in the production deployment. Okay. Next is the integration with the DevOps pipelines. This GitHub and also this Azure repos, this integrate very seamlessly with the Azure DevOps. It will allow us to automate the build and the deployment task. So changes are automatically deployed to the different environments whenever it is ready. So automatically pipeline will trigger and it will move the solution to the other environments. Now let's talk about some best practices for using the source control effectively in the Power Platform projects. One is the first and foremost, we need to adopt the branching strategy that works for your team. So there are like based on our the team structure and the size. So each organization can have their own. There is no thumb rule that this organization strategy should be like this. This branching strategy should follow only like this. It's not like that. Each and every organization, based on their requirements, they can have their own branching strategy that works best for our team. A common strategy should include some main branch for a production and a development branch for the in progress work, and future branches for the individual task. So this keeps the work very organized, and it also reduce the risk of the conflicts. And you also need to commit your changes very frequently, and you need to use the descriptive commit messages to make it very clear what each change does. So this will help when looking back to understand for the purpose of each and every commit which we are going to do it in the Azure repos. And regularly we need to merge and test the changes to prevent the conflicts. By frequently merging the changes, especially for the shared components, we can minimize the risk of the major conflicts that may arise during the production deployment. So see, if it arises, obviously it will take a good amount of delay to fix all those things. We need to spend a lots and lots of effort to find where this conflict is arising. So it's always regularly like merge and test the changes very frequently so that it would be easy. And last but not least, in a Power Platform project, it is always recommended to unpack your solution for more granular tracking. In Power Platform, like some of the organization, they export the solution, they directly have only the complete zip file in the Azure DevOps. But I always suggest to unpack the solution in your pipeline and take the uncommitted, the granular version, that completely the unpacked version, and you commit into an Azure DevOps, so that later point of time, if something went wrong, if you want to go and check each and every component, so you can at the granular level, we will be able to easily track and identify like where the issue is coming from. So at a finer level, it would be really helpful for us to identify where the issues are arising. So some common use case for source control include the collaborative development and managing the versions for releases and tracking the changes to rollback if needed. For example, consider like if one bug is introduced in a recent update, having a history of changes will allow us to identify the root cause and revert if necessary. By using the source control either with the GitHub or repos, we can enable our team very effectively. That collaboration can be made and the version tracking can be made with the help of this, and consistently we can maintain the quality in the Power Platform solution. So this setup will become the backbone for our ALM process, supporting everything from the development to the production deployment. So I have built a one flow to how the customization, the developer will do the customization, the configuration in the source environment. Once it is done, how it is exported, and how this gets. So once the developer completes his activity in the source environment, he'll export the solution, unpack, and he will commit the code into the source control, the Azure repos or the GitHub. So once the code gets committed, then what he can commit the code into the feature branch, whatever the branch he is having it, and then he can create the pull request and he can assign the pull request to the reviewer. The reviewer can validate all the changes to make sure like he is committing the proper valid ones. Once a reviewer feels comfortable, he can go and click on the complete button. Once the complete is done, then automatically the build pipeline can trigger and it will take the solution from the repos, and you can keep it as per your wish. Like some people, like they will pack the solution using the mapping.xml file, like all the web resources, plugins, and the workflow assemblies, all those things, the latest code they will pick it from the repos. So using the mapping.xml file, you can pick all those files from the latest file from the repos, and you can pack the solution and you can put the solution into an artifacts. You can publish it as a drop into an artifacts. So once the build definition gets completed, the release definition can automatically trigger based on the build definition succeeds, and the release definition can pick the solution which is there in the artifacts, and it can connect to the QA environment and it can deploy the solution. You can configure multiple stages in the release definition, and also you will get an option to enable the approvals. For example, in the QA environment, based on the that some test lead approval, if you want to deploy the solution, those kind of configurations you can keep it. Similarly, in the UAT environment as well, if you want to make any deployment to the UAT, and only if the business owner or the product owner approves, so those configuration also is really possible with the help of the release pipeline. I will quickly show in the demo like how this approval, all those things works in detail. Now quickly let's jump into the demo part. I will. So yeah, so if you see here, like this is my the Azure DevOps, the link, the dev.azure.com. So using this URL, you can connect to the Azure DevOps. And if you want to create a project, click on this new button and put the project name, description, and if you want to keep it as a private public, so you can keep it, and then you can select so which version control you are going to use it, and what is the work item process which you are going to follow. So once all those things are done, and if you click on a create, then it will create a project like this in your organization. So here you can see the Hyderabad Power Platform User Group. So this is the project got created, and this overview page you will come to know like you can put an introduction about this project, and here you can see the project statistics, like how many also boards are there, and the repos, how many repos are there, how many pull requests got open, and the commits, and the build on by the release pipeline, like success rates and the failure rates, all those things you will be able to see it from the summary part. Similarly, dashboards, wiki, lots of things are there. I'm not going to deep dive into each of this component in the Azure DevOps. I will quickly go for which is really needed for the ALM process. So we will, so far like we have seen the Azure DevOps setup. So this is the project creation part which I have explained. Now I will quickly show you like how I have configured the repos. So you can go here and you can create the repos from here. Like if you go to the repo section and you can create your new repos. If you click on here, if you click on this and you can create your new repos. Okay, this is, oh sorry, here you can see the new repository. Okay, you can create your new repository. Once it gets created, however the way you want, you can keep your the solution files and all. See, I have created the solutions, manage the solution, unmanage the solution. If you expect the unmanaged solution, as I mentioned earlier, like I have unpacked the solution and I'm storing it in a very granular level to identify any issues happen. Then at a final level we'll be able to easily identify if we unpack and save it. So this is how I'm keeping the repo structure. And if you go back to the branches, you can have your master branch. And if you can see here the master branch is there, the release branch is also there. So the people will start creating the feature branch and they will work on their own the feature branch, and they will commit the solution to the feature branch and they will create a pull request and they will assign it to the release branch. Okay, and the reviewers, the code reviewers, they will go through it and they will validate all the coding standards, everything, to make sure that particular developer is following all the company's coding standard policies or not. And once if the reviewer looks fine, they will go and approve this particular pull request. Once the pull request gets completed, then you can automate the build and the release pipeline. So that is possible. Now, once this project setup is done, the next thing what we need to do is we need to install the Power Platform Build tool, which Microsoft has released. So if you put the Power Platform Build tools from the marketplace, if you click on this link, then it will show you the Get It Free button. If you click on this link, then it will ask you to connect to the particular Azure DevOps, because one Azure DevOps might be having a multiple organization. So it will really ask you to select which organization you want to install this Power Platform Build tools. So you can see here this page will open and here it will ask you to select the organization. So as of now, like I have 3 organization, but I'm selecting the first one. So this you can see here, if for the first one this extension is already there. If you go for the other one, it will quickly validate and it will show you the install button in the bottom of the page. By clicking on this install button, this Power Platform Build tools, it will go and get deployed into the Azure DevOps environment. Okay, so in the interest of time, I'm just closing this and I will quickly go to the environment strategy. So now I have explained you like how to install the Power Platform Build tools. Now I will quickly go to the Power Platform environments and I will explain you the quickly brush up the environment strategy, which we have seen in our previous slides. So as I mentioned, so you can see the default environment. This default environment will be available for all the users in your tenants. So it is not recommended to touch anything on the in the default environment. So we need to create the proper environments with the proper naming conventions. If it is a development, the dev should be prefixed. If it is an SIT name should be prefixed with the environment, so that it would be really easy for us to identify. If any issues comes, it would be really handy. So here, for our quick demo, I have taken the Dharanidharan Balasubramaniam 1 as a source environment and Dharanidharan Balasubramaniam 2 as my target environment. I have created one of the solution, and this is the solution which I'm going to this nizbizapps underscore core. So this is the solution which I have created in the dev environment. So I will show like how this got successfully migrated to the other environment. So in the interest of time, like I will go through the pipeline in detail, but I cannot execute the pipeline because execution of the pipeline will take a good amount of time. So I will quickly open the already executed one, and then I will show you like how it got executed. Okay. So per plot, so creating the solution and adding the components. So here, if you go, so once you complete your work, then if you click on the solution, so here you will get an option to create a solution. If you click on that, it will ask you to provide your the display name, and publisher. Publisher is mainly important thing. If multiple implementation partners are working for an organization, this publisher plays a crucial role over there. This the publisher act as a thing for segregating the components which implementation partner has been built for that particular organization. So that's one of the main advantage with the publisher, and you can put your version, and if you click on create, and this is how the solution gets created. Now if you go to the solution, you can start creating all the components from the solution, or already whatever the components which you have created outside, so that also you can add it. But I always recommend you guys to come and start creating the components from here. If you start creating the components inside the solution, then only whatever the publisher we have selected, that prefix will get prefixed for that particular component, for that metadata. If you are creating a solution, if components directly by going to the default environment, what will happen is it won't pick the this particular prefix. All the default environments will have that default prefix of new, so it will create all the components with the new, and it won't will not be able to easily identify like who has created the particular component. So it's always better to create the components or add and remove the components from the solution. Don't create any components outside the solution, because of this publisher part. I would recommend you guys to create and add a components inside the solution. So I have explained the environment strategy and how to create a solution and add a components. Now for today's demo, I have already created the solution, and I have added some of the components. You can see here, if you click on this add existing, and if you want to add any table, click on this table, then it will open all the add the existing tables. So you can go ahead and select like which table you would like to move from one environment to the other environment, and as soon as you select this and if you click on next, then automatically the table will get added here, and you can, using the solution, you can move the components from this environment to the other environment. Now let's quickly get into the build pipeline. So I have already created the build pipeline, so you can see the build pipeline here. So this is the one which I have created. Also I have mentioned earlier, if you install the Power Platform build tools, you can see a lot of the Power Platform build task here. So if you just type a Power Platform, then this will give you a good amount of task. This tool is, with all this task, this tool is really easy actually. If you ask me to configure all this ALM process for any Power Platform project, so with this tool it is really easy. You can just go ahead and add it, and it is kind of updating the field values here. Keep it as an environment variables, or you can keep all this the values in the Azure key vaults, and you can read it from the key vaults, and you can populate all the values while this is running. So in this build pipeline, what I have done is I have exported the solution from the one environment. I have unpacked this one, and later I have packed this into a managed solution, and I'm committing the solution into the Azure DevOps, and then I'm pushing this into an artifacts. So you can see here. So all those things I have put in line by line. So if you want to leverage the Power Platform build tools, first and foremost thing is you need to add this Power Platform tool installer. What this will basically do is it will install all the PowerShell scripts which are required for all our automation process. That this is the core thing. So without this, none of the task will work. So this is the first step which needs to be added, even if it is a build pipeline or the release pipeline. So once this gets added, then only the below task will work. And next, what I'm doing is like I'm just added the Power Platform. Who am I? To make sure like the connection has been executed successfully. Once that is done, before exporting the solution from the development environment, I'm making sure that all the customization, the configurations are published once, So that is the reason I'm doing the publish all customization here. And if you go to this publish all customization, so you can see here, like here, it will allow you to create the service connection. And if you click on the manage button, then it will take you to the service connection. For a dynamics, you can create a two ways of service connection. One is with the username and password way, and the other one is with the client ID and the client secret approach. I always recommend go with the client ID and the client secret approach. That is the more secured way. Even Microsoft also suggests us to strongly use the client ID and the client secret one. This connection, they are saying like it's going to get deprecated. So if it gets this username and password one, if it gets deprecated, then there is no other choice left for us. We need to go with the client ID and the client secret one, and that is the more secure way as well. So if you click on this new service connection, so it will ask you to put the connection type. So if you want to go with the username and password, just type there as a generic, and if you click on the next button, then it will ask you for the URL and username, password, and by putting all this information, if you click on save, then automatically this connection gets established. Then this connection you can leverage inside your build pipelines. You can see here, this is the service connection, and you need to define again the environment variable, this environment URL. So this environment URL, I'm getting it from the variables and maintaining all the URLs and all the values in the variables here. So either you can maintain it as a variables, or you can keep it as a variable group, and you can link to the variable group even from the Azure subscription as well. So all those things are possible. So publish is done, then export is there, and export also like same service connection, and what is the environment and what is the solution name, and so all those things, and you can provide all the information here. And if you, this will really help us to export the solution. And here also we do have an option to export the solution as an asynchronous operation. So each and everything, if you click on this icon, info icon, it will give you the explanation of each and everything. So it was really easy for the Azure DevOps export to configure this one. And once the export is done, I'm unpacking this into for the granular level, and I'm tracking it once again, both the managed and the unmanaged solution. So once all those things are done, finally I'm committing this code, okay, and I'm finally committing this code, and then I'm publishing the artifacts. So once this gets published, then if you go to the executed pipeline, so you can see here, this got the recently, like 1 hour ago, this got executed. And if you click on this, so you will be able to see all those things got ran successfully, okay. And yeah, okay, and it has published into an artifacts as well. So how you can check this artifacts is, if you see here, you can see one published, one consumed. If you click on this, and this will open the artifacts, and if you expand this one, and if you expand the solution, and if you go for the unmanaged one, here you will be see all the unpacked versions of the customization and the configuration which we have done, okay. So this is what the build pipeline will do. Once the build pipeline gets success, then you can configure the release pipeline to trigger automatically, or if you want to schedule it, that is also possible. So if you click on this option, you will get an option to schedule this one. So you can schedule it, or whenever the build gets succeeded, and if you want to execute it, that is also possible actually. So all those configuration, if you really click on this one, here you can see the continuous deployment trigger I have disabled actually, but if you enable this one, then automatically, like whenever it gets succeeded, then automatically the release will trigger, and it will start deploying the changes into the respective environments. I also mentioned like how I will explain in the demo how to configure the approvers. So if you click on this, so in our scenario, in our environment strategy, we have taken a development environment, then SIT, UAT, pre-prod of the production. So in your release pipeline, you can add a multiple stages like this. So even if you are having a multiple and more environments, you can configure your stages, and you can execute only the particular stage. For example, if the build gets succeeded, but if you want to deploy only the solution to SIT, and you don't know if you want to skip the UAT, pre-prod, and the production environment, that is also possible. And you can configure the approvers as well. the pre-deployment approvers and who wants to keep it as approvers, and some of the approval policies also they have given. And if you want to enable the gated check-in, so that is also possible. So all those conditions you will enable it here. And in the release definition, I'm simply doing the three things. As I mentioned earlier, if you want to leverage the Power Platform Builder tools, you need to install the Power Platform tool installer. And I'm validating the connection. So connection references the service connection, which I have already explained. There are two types. So once it gets validated, once it gives the successful result, then we are picking the solution and we are directly going and deploying this solution in the target environment. This is what this build and release pipeline will do. I'll quickly go to the release one, and I don't know why it got failed. While imploding, it got failed for some reason. Maybe it might have some dependency issue or something. Yeah, we can look into it, but this is how like it will work actually. Like the build pipeline will trigger and it will pick the solution from the source environment, unpack it, and this will commit and again pack it as a solution, and it will push it to a drop folder. The release type pipeline can pick the solution from the artifacts, and he can deploy the solution back into the target environment. Now, if you see the diagram, so you'll be able to clearly understand. So the developer is completing his work in the source, then unpacking and committing the code, and then the pipeline will trigger and it will pick the code with the mapping.xml file. If you have the custom assemblies and all using the mapping.xml file, you can pack the solution. That's what the build definition will do, and it will push that solution into an artifacts in the Azure DevOps. Then the release pipeline will trigger and it will use the solution which is there in the artifacts, and it will take the solution and it will deploy to the QA. And if you want to keep the tester as an automated, the checker, the approver, so that is also possible. And similarly for the once this QA is done and QA is successful, and you can go back to the, so first we are deploying to the QA environment. Consider the QA succeed. Once the QA gets succeeded, then again you can come back to the pipeline and you can go to the same UAT, and if you click on this deploy, then it will pick, even though your environment is having a untested customizations and all, still it won't go to the other environments, because the solution, it won't go and export each and every time. Whatever is there already packed in the Azure DevOps, whatever is the quality tested ones, only those things would be picked and it will get deployed to the target environment. So this is the quick demo of the build and the release pipeline. So far we can see the Azure DevOps setup, then how to install Power Platform environments, how to create a solution, add a components, and how to create the build and the release pipeline. So to wrap up, here are some of the essential ALM best practices. So one is the, as I said earlier, we need to always create a clear environment strategy, keep the separate dev, test, UAT, production, so we can avoid using the production data in the non-production environments. So this is one main key thing for the environment strategy perspective. And we need to commit the code regularly with the descriptive commit messages. And also we need to follow the branching strategy to avoid the conflicts, and using the Power Platform builder tools to streamline the deployment process across the environments, and also to reduce the manual work. We can automate this Power Platform deployments with the CI/CD tools, and this Power Platform builder tool is a Microsoft one and it is a free. You don't need to pay anything for it. And running the solution checker frequently in a project to make sure all the solution whatever we are building is having the proper solution quality, and also it is following the Microsoft coding standards. So it's better to run the solution checker on a timely manner in our development environment to make sure whatever we are building is going in a correct way. And regular cleanup should be there. We always need to review the solutions to remove the unused components and follow the clear naming conventions. So some of the time, like if you try to add a component into a solution, like if you include all the metadata or all the dependent components, it will, for one table, it will end up in adding sometimes 12 tables and all in the backend. So we always do the regular cleanup to make sure unnecessary components are not getting added into the solutions. And the role in the access control. So limit the access based on the roles and establish the governance to maintain the security and the consistency. So with all these best practices, we can ensure very smoother, safer, and more reliable ALM process, helping us to deliver the high quality solutions in the Power Platform projects. So in summary, successful ALM in Power Platform relies on a clear environment strategy, consistent use of source control, and automation with the CI/CD, regular solution checks, cleanup, and strong governance. These are all the uh, very key thing for the successful ALM process in the Power Platform projects. By following all these best practices, we can create very reliable, efficient process that maintain our solution in high quality, and also it will have a security error-free solution. And thanks everyone for joining. And I hope these insights will help you to streamline your ALM journey. So yeah, I'm open for question and answers. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. I'm happy to address those questions now.
Thank you so much, Dhani. I must say that was a very powerful session. And when I say that, I was looking at all the demos and whatever you were doing on your screen, and I'm sure it is very helpful for anybody who is watching. Thank you so much for choosing this topic and presenting as part of Hyderabad Power Platform User Group.
Thanks once again, Ritika and Yash, for providing me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you all for joining today.
Mhm.
And if you wish to connect with me, please feel free to can scan this QR code and you can connect with me in LinkedIn. And if you have any questions in ALM journey or anything on the Power Platform, always feel free to get in touch with me. I am happy to help you guys. Yeah, thank you once again.
Sounds good. Okay, so Dhani, I don't see anything on the chat right now, but since this is recorded and will be published on YouTube, the attendees who may have a question, they can reach out to you directly on LinkedIn or Twitter.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, all right. I think that should be all for today. Thank you once again, Dhani, for joining us today
Yeah.
and interacting with our audience, with the members of Hyderabad Power Platform User Group. And with that, we can close the meetup for today. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me or Yash anytime. If you want to present in any of our next meetups, then also you can reach out, share with the community what you are learning, because at some point or another, it will be helpful for each other. So, thank you so much once again, everybody, for joining.
Yeah. Thanks everyone. Cheers. Bye.